Hello children. Today in this video we will talk about mass media. Now what is mass media? Mass media is made up of two words. Mass means a large number of people and media means various modes of communication. Thus we can say mass media is a field of mass communication. Children, in the olden days, what used to happen is a crier would run in the streets beating drums and crying out important news. The news would spread among people by word of mouth. If you see history of mass media, the printing technology in India came after the arrival of the British. And with this, newspapers were introduced. Newspapers became a source of passing on information and knowledge among people. Newspapers are printed and distributed regularly at a definite time. They are historical documents that record current events. Now, newspaper print news, editorials, people's opinions, entertaining news, supplementary content, local, national, and international news. Precursors to newspapers, or we can say thing that comes before another of the same kind. So before newspapers, how was information given to people? Let's see in the case of Egypt. In Egypt, inscriptions were placed with royal decrees at public place. Emperor Ashoka also used a similar method to reach out to his subjects. In the Roman Empire, royal decrees were written on papers and they were distributed in all regions. These contained information of various events taking place in the nation and its capital. During Julius Caesar's reign, newspapers known as Acta Diurna, meaning acts of every day, used to be placed at public places in Rome. In England, handouts used to be distributed occasionally, giving information about wars or important events. Travelers arriving from far away would add spice to stories from those places and narrate it to local people. The ambassadors of a king posted at various places would send back important news to the royal court. In the 7th century CE, royal dictates were distributed among people at public places. Now we are going to see some newspapers. The first one is Bengal Gazette. Now this was the first English newspaper in India. It was printed on 29th January 1780. It was named as Calcutta General Advertiser or Bengal Gazette. It was started by James Augustus Hickey, an Irish gentleman. The next newspaper is Darpan. This was started in 1832 in Mumbai, and the editor was Bal Shastri Jambekar. The news printed in Darpan gives information about the political, economic, social and cultural events of those times. Few examples are the accounts of expenditure from the 3 administrative divisions of the East India Company, the danger of Russian attack on the nation, appointment of a committee for cleanliness of the city, remarriage of Hindu widows, the inception of theatre at Calcutta, achievements of Raja Ram Mohan Roy in England. Now, do you know that Bal Shastri Jambekar was the first editor of the first Marathi newspaper and is therefore referred to as the first editor. His birthday, that is 6th January, is observed in Maharashtra as the Patrakar Din or the Journalist Day. The next newspaper we will see is Prabhakar. It was started by Bhav Mahajan. The History of French Revolution and Shatpatre, the letters by Lokitwadi, aimed at creating social awareness, were published in this newspaper. The next newspaper we are going to see is Jnanoday. This was another newspaper which printed important news like installation of telegraph, starting of railways, and this article was given the title Chakya Mahasoba, meaning Mahasoba with wheels. The news of Indian War of Independence of 1857 was also printed. This newspaper also printed map of Asia in 1842 and of Europe in 1851. It was the first Indian newspaper to print an illustration, means a picture. Newspapers were a very important medium of creating social awareness. Indu Prakash supported widow remarriage. Dinbandhu, a newspaper representing the masses of the Indian society, was started by Krishna Rao Balekar. Through this newspaper, we get to know about the issues relating to the masses. The next newspaper we are going to see is Kesari and Maratha. Gopal Ganesh Agarkar and Bal Gangadhar Tilak started these papers in 1881. They spoke about the social and political issues of that period. Kesari began to publish articles about the nationwide situations, books in the native languages, and the politics in England. Even in the 21st century, newspapers continue to play an important role, and they are known as the fourth column of democracy. Magazines and journals. Magazines and journals are periodical publications, means they are published at regular intervals. This category includes publications which are weekly, bi-weekly means twice in a week, monthly, bi-monthly means twice in a month, quarterly, 6-monthly, annual, etc. There are some chronicles which are published at no fixed time. In recent times, we have seen that many newspapers and magazines have introduced e-newspapers and e-magazines, which means you don't get a hard copy or a printed copy. You can go online and you can view these newspapers and magazines. Now let's see some examples of magazines and journals. Now Darshan was the first monthly magazine in Marathi started by Bal Shastri Jambekar. Pragati, now a defunct journal. Defunct means something which is no longer existing or functioning. Was started in 1929 and edited by Trimbak Shankar Sejwalkar. He wrote regularly in this historiographical journal of Maharashtra's history and social movements. Some recent examples of Marathi journals are Bharatiya Itihas आणि Samskruti and Marathwada Itihas Parishad Patrika. Next, we are going to see electronic or digital journalism. Now, what do we mean by electronic or digital journalism? It is also known as online journalism. It is a form of journalism where editorial content is distributed via the internet and not published via print or broadcast. Many web news portals, social media web channels, YouTube, etc. make historical content available to the audience or readers. Next, we are going to see radio. Indian Broadcasting Company (IBC), a private radio company, was the first one to broadcast daily programs. Later, it was taken over by the British government and renamed as Indian State Broadcasting Service (ISBS). On 8 June 1936, ISBS was renamed as All India Radio. After independence, this became an integral part or an important part of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting India. In the beginning, it used to broadcast government programs and schemes. On the suggestion of the poet Pandit Narendra Sharma, it was named as Akashvani. Various entertainment awareness creating and literary programs, special programs for farmers, workers, youth and women were broadcasted. The Vivid Bharati programs are broadcasted in 24 regional languages as well as 146 dialects of Indian languages. At present, various channels like Radio Mirchi etc. are providing radio services. Children, do you know that in British India, the first English news bulletin was broadcasted on 23rd July 1927 from the Mumbai radio station of the IBC. Later, Kolkata radio station started a news bulletin in Bengali. Television. Delhi Doordarshan was inaugurated by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Mumbai Centre of Doordarshan began to telecast on 1st May 1972. Color television was introduced on 15th August 1982. In 1991, private, national and international channels were granted permission to telecast. Thus, it became possible for Indians to watch international events on television.